Hey guys, welcome to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger. You can get my book, Streams of Income, for free at streamsofincomeradio.com, along with all of the show notes of past episodes that we've had, all the guests we've had on this show. You can listen to all of them on demand at streamsofincomeradio.com. As I record this, it's the day after Christmas, 2019. So hope you all had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and awesome holidays. And so just I know this time of year, folks are thinking about the next year. So as I'm recording this, I'm thinking about 2020. What does that look like for me? What does that look like for my business? Being an entrepreneur, I'm always thinking of business ideas and things are always running through my head. And I'm wondering, what does next year look like? And rather than just wondering what it's going to look like, I want to at least do some planning and be proactive about it. This episode is all about goals. And I know that's a topic that some of you like, yeah, I'm tired of hearing about goals. Everybody's talking about goals. I hope this one is a refreshing one for you, because I realize, because I'm in this position, that the traditional way doesn't always work for folks. For me, my story is that I do write things down. I'm more of a big picture guy as far as vision. And I've in another episode I talked about vision boards and how to, cast a vision for your life, because I believe you have to see it in your heart first, in your head as well, but you have to see it in your heart before you can see it in your hands. And so you have to be thinking about it, moving towards it. You have to be seeing it. And that's why I'm actually a big believer in vision boards, because it allows me to see some of these big picture things that I believe God has called me to do. And some of the things that are on my heart, just desires as well. But then those big dreams, in order to move towards them, you have to take action. And so that's kind of where goals come into play. So what do I want to accomplish in 2020? What do I want to accomplish in quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, and quarter four? So I'm going to share my version of it, the way I do it. And then I have three different people that I've interviewed that are going to be sharing in segment 2, segment 3, segment 4. They are as follows. I have Jimmy Smith, who's going to be sharing the more traditional model of how he sets the goals and breaks them down, and figures out, if you have a sales goal, for example, how do you take that sales goal and break it down into smaller pieces and bite-sized chunks? Because how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. And so that's the more traditional route. We have Linda Joseph going to be talking about how she focuses, because it's really all about focus, those daily actions. How do I take something bigger and focus in on what I really need to be working on today? She shares her way of how you can create a planner out of things that you already have. And then Jim Cockrum, this is one of the episodes that I really love on his Silent Sales Machine podcast that really was refreshing to me, and I know it will be beneficial to you. In the fourth segment, we're going to have him talk about his method, which essentially he doesn't bother with the traditional way because he feels like it just hasn't worked for him, because either it makes you fall short, or then you overachieve, or you blow past your goals, and what good were they anyway? And so he just feels like that it's better to focus on those daily habits, those daily actions that will get you to achieve your goals anyway. And so when I heard his podcast episode, it was just really refreshing to me, because guys, I'll be honest with you, I feel like I've failed many times and haven't hit those things that I plan on hitting, whether it was a weight loss goal or a business goal, whatever it was. You fall short and you feel like you're a failure. In fact, I wrote about this in my email. I have a newsletter that goes out every Friday, along with the newest podcast episode that I announce. And this was just a few weeks ago that I talked about how it's crazy that we're already talking about 2020. And so this whole month, to me, I've been thinking about, what does 2020 look like? And I believe it's important to set aside some time to be thinking about it. Don't just go into 2020 with no plan whatsoever. But I know some of you guys get stressed out about it because you feel like, golly, so many times I've set goals and just not achieve them. So why even bother? Well, let's not do that either. So this episode, I hope it's going to be a blessing to you to know that there are different ways of doing this that allow you to be successful, but don't just do nothing. So in that email, I talked about how, I do write things down, But here are my main 3 tips, and I'll share a story and end with a quote here before we get into my guests. But my 3 tips that I feel are what's worked for me is I write it down, write something down, put it down, put your long yearly goals. But I'm actually going to be trying to focus more on what do I want to do quarter 1. So January, February, and March of 2020, what are my main things? No, let's not have 50 things. Let's have 2 or 3 main things that I want to be working on in the quarter 1, so that by end of March, I will have accomplished those things. I want to focus on those. So write something down, and maybe it's best for you to focus just on that first quarter. Take action. Now, guys, this is the thread that runs through all of the different guests that you're going to hear over the next several minutes. Is it all comes down to that daily action. So you got to be doing something. It usually every day, at least those 5 days a week. This doesn't mean you can't have time to go do what you want, but take action on it daily. Those daily habits, those daily things are what's going to get you to that goal anyway. And review those goals often. Look at them often. For me, I love having something visual that I can look at in a vision board. Also, know that your goals can be in pencil. So they're not, for those of you that are detail oriented or very strict about yourself, or feel like, especially if you feel like you've been a failure before, just know that your goals can be written in pencil, so that if you get into the middle of February, you're halfway through Q1 and you're not close, well, or for whatever reason, you maybe focused on something else, and that's another thing I really enjoy about the interview I had with Jim, is to know that as you're moving toward some of the things you've written down, I love having the opportunity to be open to opportunities. I love being open to seeing what projects, what new ideas could come and be the right idea for that time. And it might push out a goal that I had in December for quarter 1 or quarter 2. So I love having that openness about it. So that's another reason why being in pencil is key, so that you don't feel like you can't turn and go to a different direction if you feel that's the right thing at that time, because you're so focused. No, I have to do this goal. This is what, I'd planned out. It doesn't mean that you're not focused. It just means that you have some things that you feel like you're supposed to be doing and you're moving towards, but then you are still, it's a little bit fluid. And so it's in pencil. So I hope that's helpful, but write something down, guys. At least do that, be taking action on it. And then just know that you can change it as you go along. In my book, Streams of Income, I wrote in chapter 7, there's 6 little bullet points that I wrote down in the beginning of January 2009. It was before I was going into this business that we had with the furniture business. When we started, I had no idea how I was going to support my wife. I had just started being an entrepreneur, but I wrote down that I wanted to have flexible hours, high pay, work from home, vacation time whenever I need it, and great people to work with. And by God's grace, or the 6th one is a cause, mission, and a vision I love and am passionate about. And by God's grace, not too long after that, just a few, end of 2009, I had decided to go all in on the online business thing. And all those things came to pass in that online business that we started. So, and it's still happening. So guys, write stuff down, be intentional about it. Don't just walk into 2020 without a plan whatsoever, but just know that there is hope. If you feel like you failed before and goals have not been your thing, well, at least do something. Write it down, start taking daily action, start working on those small pieces. If that bigger goal seems ominous, work on those daily actions. And guys, I want to end this segment with a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. It's I believe it's an excerpt from one of his speeches, and it's titled "The Man in the Arena." And I got this sign as a gift from guys in my mastermind group, and I'm going to be hanging this on my wall. And here's what it says: "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly." so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Man, cold and timid souls, that's pretty rough. Rough. I heard it sounds pretty harsh, but guys, get in the arena. Don't stick on the sidelines. Get in the game. Move toward what God has called you to do, because there are people on the other side of your dream, your vision, those goals that you have or that you need to write down. Those are for other people. Those are not just for you. Those are for other people to get the benefit of what you have to offer the world. So guys, I'm excited to jump into this, the rest of this episode with my guests. I'm Ryan Rieger with Streams of Income Radio. We'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income Radio Show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger, and here's another guy that's been on one time before, Jimmy Smith. You were on episode 3, I believe. We're talking about replens and products that you sell over and over again on Amazon. Jimmy, thanks for fitting me in on Christmas Eve, man. Appreciate it.
Excited to be here.
Merry Christmas to you and Brittany.
Yeah, you as well. Merry Christmas to you and Elaine.
Cool. So guys, Jimmy did a webinar last night and I listened to it, and it was awesome because it was the more traditional way of setting goals, but he laid it out in a way that it was a little bit different than I've heard it. Some of the terms I've never heard before. I want to get into that. And because I know some of you like want that more detailed look at, you have an Amazon business, for example, and you want to hit $10,000 per month in sales. And he'll explain what I mean by all this, but that's kind of could be an arbitrary number, or it could just be, maybe it's a big goal for you. How do you break that down into what I need to do today? And Jimmy's system is perfect for that. So Jimmy, talk about your system. Some of the terms I heard on your webinar last night were really good because it made sense of how other people talk about it, but it's a little bit different approach, but still kind of the normal route.
Right. Yeah. And this has just been a culmination of things that I've done over the years. I've always been a goal setter, going all the way back to college, which it's been about a decade now. So I've kind of formulated this process that I enjoy and keep adding stuff to it each and every year. The main idea, and I'll just go through it, I guess,
let's do it.
Overview of it.
Sure.
But the main idea is that, you start off with kind of what you want to become at the end of the year. So it could be, I want to be a runner, or I want to be a successful Amazon seller, or I want to be an excellent husband or wife, whatever that might be for you. It's starting off with that idea, and really, what do you want to become as a person? I've heard that described as formations. You want to kind of, form yourself into the person you want to become. And so I start with that, and then I start to break down goals from there. So if I want to become a successful Amazon seller, then I would start going down, and I'd break it into 1 to 3 goals per formation that I chose. So I could have 3 or 4 formations, the ones that I just listed. So want to be a runner, want to be a good Amazon seller, etc. And then from each of those, I'll break it into 1 to 3 main goals. And then we break it down further after that. But for an Amazon seller, let's say we're talking about replens, because that's what, we've discussed in the past, and selling just products on Amazon. It could be, okay, I want to be a successful Amazon seller. So that means that let's say to me, I want to hit $10,000 per month in sales.
So that's your big overarching formation, or what you want to be. Okay. Got it. Okay.
And that looks to me as, to me, that's the successful portion that I can see ahead of me, right? Yes. You can always say, oh, I want $10 million of sales, but if you're at 0, right, you need to make it realistic as well. So if you're going for 10,000, you would then say, this is what I want to hit. And then how do I get there? And that could be, I want to find 60 replens in 30 days, or 30 replens in 30 days, which are just products to sell. And I want to outsource the prep and ship process. And I want to outsource shopping online, because I'll stick with the retail store. And then from there, you can break those down again further. And so I know it can kind of sound a little bit more confusing, but the whole idea is you start with a big picture, a formation, and then you break them down into as small as steps as possible. And you continue to do that until you run out of steps, because then you can start to plan, put them on your calendar, put them every week, whatever that might be. And it'll actually end up over the year, you'll be able to see that you're hitting those goals.
I love it.
One thing that I do like to talk about a lot is the difference between leading versus lagging goals. And for somebody that's new to the topic, it might be a little bit confusing at first.
Mhm.
But the idea is that a leading goal is how you really want to set up your goals. And that's because it's the action, the leading action that gets you the end result that you're looking for.
Okay.
So for instance, if I want to hit $10,000 in sales, that $10,000 number, that is a lagging goal. That's what happens after all of the effort that I put in to get there. And a leading goal is something that is like, I want to find 30 products a month. And, by the end of the year, I will have hit, or by the end of a few months, I will have enough products to hit that end goal of $10,000 per month in sales, right?
Mm.
So you want to try to set up as many leading goals as you can, because they're actionable steps that you can take to
Mm.
hit that end result you're looking for. So
Love that. So that's like you mentioned very briefly vision boards at the end of your webinar. And so I would imagine, tell me if I'm wrong here, that a vision board might be your lagging goal. For example, if you had, I want to make $10,000 a month profit on Amazon by
yep,
the end of 2020. And I put that on my, maybe I write myself a check, and guys, this is what I actually do. I have a figure on there, and it's this one actually, with the figure that I have is not time bound to 2020. It's because it's a little bit bigger, and maybe I need to stretch myself to figure out how to get there. But it's definitely those visions, those things. It's like, I'm not really sure how I'm going to get to some of those big things. So those would be the lagging goals. And then you, for those that have things that you can take, those measurable steps, what's those, you just keep breaking it down. So you might do like, per month, I need to do this. So
yep,
then per week, I need to do this. And then maybe it's per day. But then you also said that keep going down to these steps to where you can actually take action on it,
mhm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even so, like, let's say you said you wanted to make $10,000 a month in profit. Well, yeah,
Mhm.
you can break that down into, well, monthly I need to make this, and weekly, or sorry, weekly I need to make this, and
Mhm.
daily I need to make this. But really, some of those numbers you can't fully control, right?
That's
Because
what I loved what you said. You can't control some of this. So yes,
yeah,
I say that I want to make $10,000 a month. Okay, great. That's awesome. But that's not really something you can control. You can control the effort that you're going to put in to get into that. So like you said,
exactly.
go out and find so many replens. I can spend my time doing that. I can, you know,
Yeah,
you said if you want to outsource, create systems and processes, that document, I can do that. I can contact a prep center. And guys, it's super basic stuff, all the way down to like if you need to find a virtual assistant, what
mhm,
are the steps you need to do that? Well, I need to put out a description, a job listing. Well, where am I going to do that? Well, maybe I need to research
mhm.
VA sites, places I can find a VA. So that would be one of your leading goals, right? Look
Yeah.
for Google virtual assistants and start
Mhm.
doing some research, asking some Facebook groups. And then what's the next thing? Well, then I find it and then I post a job description. Those are all steps that you can control that hopefully will get you to that lagging goal of that 10K per month.
Absolutely. I mean, and if you're talking, again, the process, it just is the same process every time. You don't have to follow the exact, 1 to 3 here, like I
Right.
talked about at the beginning. But if
Uh-huh.
you're looking at your vision board and it's, to go to Maui, right, to have a 2 week trip to Maui, okay, what does that take? Okay, I need
Mm,
this much money. How do I get that money? And then break it
yeah.
down into the action steps you can take to get that piece, right?
Love it.
So that's the basics of what I do with my goals, and I think
Yeah.
it's ultimately what everything comes down to. Even uh, Jim Cockrum, if he talks about those daily action steps, that's
Mhm.
essentially the same thing, right? It's
It
those
is.
goals. It's just a different way to think about it.
Absolutely.
And so I think ultimately for me, I love to have that vision in my head or on a board or
Mhm.
whatever,
Mhm.
of what I want to be and what I want to accomplish. But you also need to have something that gets you there. You can't just,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could put something on a vision board and, it could just happen because you don't know how to get there. Um,
Right.
for the most part, 90% of the time, those goals that you hit and actually succeed at are the ones that you can see the process and map it out to get there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
Based
can
off
put
what
on there, that I want to weigh a certain weight, but if I'm sitting on the couch looking at my vision board eating potato chips, that's probably not going to make
right.
it happen. So,
Exactly. And you can't control how fast you lose weight either, right? I
right.
mean, you can say, well, I think I can lose whatever a month,
Yeah.
but what you can control is getting on the treadmill or walking or whatever it is, eating less food.
Right.
So that's how I look at them. So.
That's good. And we didn't plan on asking this, but so I don't think it'd be a curveball for you though. So how do you stay motivated? Like there's gotta be days you wake up and like, gosh, I don't want to do this. What keeps you on track with your goals?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I have those days. And, as you get more and more responsibilities, you have more and more weight to some of the
Sure.
decisions, right? I guess part of it is I've just always felt like I need to do these things. I mean, it's to
Mhm.
be successful, future children. I want to make sure
Yeah.
that I'm providing for them, providing for Brittany, my wife. I mean, all of that goes into it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, just
Good.
I've always been somebody that took my responsibility not lightly.
Yeah.
And so
Good.
that's kind of the way I look at it is these are things
Yeah.
I have to do, and luckily because there's things that lead to my end result, I
Mhm.
get, the payout that I want, right? Not necessarily
Right.
money, but happiness and freedom and whatever that might be.
Love it. You have a good why. And essentially it comes down to the why you're even doing this. You're not doing it just because you want some money in your bank account
Right.
or you want to do whatever, go to Maui. It's those bigger things, those big formations. So
Yeah.
Jimmy, that is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Yeah.
I know we could dig further, but just wanted to bring you on for one segment to kind of
Mhm.
chat about how you do it, which is great because I know a lot of people do it the same way. And a
Right.
lot of you guys can take some of the things that Jimmy does and piece it together, what we've talked about with Linda and Jim and some of the stuff that I'm going to share as well. So Jimmy,
Yeah.
thanks so much, man. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks. Hey guys, we're back with Streams of Income Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger. And in this segment, we're chatting with my good friend, longtime friend, Linda Joseph. She has a really cool way that she approaches goals and goal planning, vision planning. She has a planner that she's working on, in fact, even a course. So I'm excited to have you. Linda, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you. It's
Well,
fun to be on.
yeah, absolutely. I thought of you when we were talking about goals. This is a topic that people either love or sometimes I've talked to people that hate it because they feel like they constantly fail and they just like that. I can't do it. So what is your approach? Just tell me what you do and then we'll see where this goes.
Well, basically there's three sections to what I do. One is goals, the second is plans, and the third is steps or process. So in goals, it's more of objectives. It's not,
Mhm.
I want to make X amount, but it's what kind of lifestyle do I want to have? Where do I want to be in 5, 10, 20 years, depending on your age? So
Mhm.
it's kind of setting up objectives about what you want to see in your life.
Mhm.
The second step is taking those objectives and then putting them into plans.
Mm.
It's kind of a step-step process.
Okay.
And then the third is taking those and having more of a formal process than you can outsource.
Mm.
So that's kind of the three steps that we do. And you can
Okay.
apply this to business, which is mainly what I focus on, or
Mhm.
if you're looking to exercise or
Okay.
eat healthier or budget, whatever it is you're doing, you set up your objectives and what you want to accomplish. And with
Mm.
business, it may be as simple as I want to be able to make enough money to do a car payment
Okay.
every month,
Uh-huh.
or I want to grow my $100,000 business into $500,000. So
Mm.
whatever it is, whatever your objective is the first
Mhm.
thing that you need to really think about what
Okay.
it is you want to accomplish.
Yeah. So what's that look like? Give us an example of a possible goal and how that breaks down with objectives, plans, and then goals from there.
Okay, well, I've done this on myself.
Uh-huh.
And this is really what's kind of got me more passionate about it, is
Mhm.
because in 2 years, we will be living, Lord willing, in Honduras for 6
Mm.
months of the year. And that means I have to be location free, and it affects the amount of hours that I can work. So some of the goals that I have for myself in this time period are to be able to work from anywhere. So that means the things that we are doing here with inventory and prepping
Mhm.
can no longer be done here. All
Mm.
the returns. So there's 4 different areas that are affected by that. That also means that I can only work maybe 10 to 15 hours with internet that's not reliable.
Yeah.
Well, that means I have to outsource more. So those are kind of
Mm.
objectives that I have to do. So the
Okay.
plan.
And the objective's the higher level.
So this is taking a look at the higher level about
Okay. What do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? Okay.
what kind of lifestyle do you want?
Mm.
Um, and so that's the kind of lifestyle that we're kind of looking at. So it really forced me to think about what I'm doing in the business and how am I going to get there? Because I can't wake up in 2 years from now and just leave.
Mm.
So you really have to kind of think about it.
Yeah, you do have to think about it. You can't just like, oh, someday I'd like to, go to Honduras and live on the beach with my husband.
Right. I think I'll do
and
that.
hope that it happens, which a lot of people do. They just wish and hope. And you put feet to those dreams, essentially, is what you're doing. Mm. Okay.
Right. So we put like a plan in place. So I have to have a warehouse that I ship things to, so they handle all of that prep area. So we're hiring more VAs to do more work. So that means I have to come up with processes for every step that needs to be done in order to make this happen.
Mm. Okay. So what does that look like then with, so you want to move to Honduras and you want to work 10 to 15 hours a week because of the internet there. How does that go down into the plans and then the daily things that you do and then those 90-day goals and all that type of stuff?
So we have to look at what processes can we outsource, who can do those.
Okay.
We've already started the warehouse process.
Mm.
So a very specific plan that we're now putting in place is what do we do with returns and damaged items with Amazon or with any other platform that we're selling on. So now we're putting together a step-by-step plan on what to do with those items. Some of them are selling on other platforms. Some are going to be sent to an auction house and some are going to be sent to different charities. So I'm working on those plans now and putting those into place, and we'll probably have those in place by mid-year.
Oh, nice. Okay. And what's the systems and processes look like? Is it like videos of you showing how it's done, or is it like a PDF document that somebody then could come in and take over?
It's both, because we found that people learn different ways. So sometimes we'll do a quick video. The problem with videos is if the process changes, you have to redo the video. So I like written steps that have checklists on them. And we're actually exploring a couple of different software options that provide this, that would have access to, that the VAs could access, as well as some of the people we have in the States to go through those process and check them off.
Nice. That's huge. And then it's just like, so like it'd be almost like project management software that we see.
Right.
All right, cool. Okay. And you showed me your planner at one point that it's something like you basically kind of created on your own. And it's something that we're going to actually do a webinar on that, of how people can use things that they already have, and the labels. And what's that process of using your labels and putting it on a notebook? And because it's different than what, it's not like a, expensive planner that somebody has to buy to put your system into place.
You know what I found with planners is when people buy planners, whether they either a cheap one or an expensive one, they don't want to write in it because they don't want to mess it up.
Right.
It's it's a very interesting dynamic. So what I did is all the people that at least are on Amazon have the 4x6 labels you use for shipping, and you have a thermal laser. So it's essentially, we got the free, probably shouldn't be using them for that, but we have the free labels, we have the free printing. And so I created on these labels the grids that we use for creating the planner. So for instance, I recommend that you only have 4 focus areas.
Okay.
So it's 4 pieces of your goal. So you take your goal of working 10 to 15 hours and say, okay, what are the 4 components of that? And then you kind of break that down. So that's one piece that you put in your planner. Then we have, for every month, you will then say, I'm going to take these tasks and do them this month. Then we have just a little form that just has Monday through Friday and a room for little checks. And this is what I'm going to do this week. So you take that from your original goals and you've broken that down. Then you take the next pieces and just put it right in there. It really works pretty easily. And you just have I like the spiral bound better than the flat, because it just makes it easier. So now I can add that. And in the back, what we've done is we've created a bullet journal.
Okay.
So that as you're in conferences or in webinars, you can take notes and then you can jot down what page those are on. It's a very flexible way that
Nice.
you can make your own planner this way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Then you feel like you can write in it and you're not messing anything up.
Right.
Exactly.
You can rip the page out and just do
Right.
it, but if it's really bad, yeah.
Exactly. How long did it take? Because I know people like struggle, and me included. Like, what's my system? How did you devise this? And did you go through a long process of figuring out what worked for you?
It took me about a year of working
Okay.
through this, of what worked for me.
Mm.
And I had the shiny object syndrome. I mean, I have it as bad as anybody out.
Wow. There you go. Because that's the big thing we struggle with as internet
Yes.
entrepreneurs, because there's always a new course, a new book coming out, and they're all amazingly good content. But how do you focus and figure out, you know what, that may be really good, but that's not right for me right now? How do you to tell somebody to be able to focus?
Well, that's where when I told you what my 4 goals were, I mean, they were about time and money and location free and adding a stream. So when I looked at everything that was coming out, it was, does it fit
There you go.
with those objectives that I had peers? That's what was really helpful to me. Now, I gave myself a little bit of latitude because I said add a stream of income. So there were several things in there that I could go do. But this planner was not in that original other stream. But as I started working through this and found it was helping other people try and organize their time and their focus. What really helped me. But it's looking at where you're going and then saying, does this fit in with that or not?
Yes. So you're trying to be location free. So a business that requires you to be in Texas, that's okay. Maybe at this moment, but that's not where you're trying to get to. So you're probably going to say no to that opportunity or something that's just not going to allow you to continue that when you're in Honduras. That's brilliant. Yeah. Does it fit into your main objectives that you're trying to get to? That's awesome. Guys, this has been super, super helpful. Just figure out what your main objectives is, and what you're doing now, or all these new opportunities, do they fit into what you're trying to do? Awesome. Linda, thank you so much. Super, super helpful. And I will be telling my listeners about your planner when that comes out, and that webinar that we're going to do, I think early January, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It's great.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger, and I'm thrilled to have my friend, mentor, business partner on several things back. He was my very first guest. It's Jim Cockrum. Jim, thanks for jumping on with me. I know you're busy with Christmas stuff, so thanks again for being on with me.
No, it's great to be here again, man. And thanks again for the invite. And I can't believe we were already so many episodes into this great podcast. You're doing a great job, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is episode, I think, number 20. So this is fun. So Jim, we're talking about goals. And I know that there's some people that totally do it the quote right way, and they have enormous results. And there's folks, and me included in this, where sometimes I feel like, gosh, I'm a failure. Like I set these goals and I just either never hit them, or they don't take the normal time that I had set for it. And it's frustrating. And you had an episode on your podcast that was really refreshing, and it included, Callan walked in the room here. Let me back up a second.
No, that's awesome, dude. I'd leave that stuff in.
Well, I might. It distracted me, and so I'll go back and go back to where I was, but for just a second. And so on your episode, on your podcast, you had an episode where you talked about goals, and it was really refreshing to me because you said, instead of quote goals, you focus on the daily habits. And I kind of wanted to dig into that and give my listeners some encouragement if they feel like that might be a better route for them. So what is that for you? What does your goal setting system look like?
Yeah, I try to go back to the greatest business book ever written on these kind of subjects. And I look for advice, biblical-based advice. And when I look in the Bible, I don't see a whole lot there about setting goals. Now, I do see things like run the race in such a way as to win the prize. That's about as close as you get to a goal-setting type of mindset. So a lot of the business gurus, a lot of the business books, I'm not anti-goal by any means, Ryan, but I don't hold it against someone if they do set goals, but it's never worked for me. I focus more on those things, those themes that I see promoted predominantly throughout the Bible. And those are things like discipline, daily habits, relationships. And I've found over a course of about 20 years of owning my own business and owning multiple businesses and multiple partnerships, when I focus on my daily disciplines, my daily habits, keeping my own life in order, I go so much further, so much faster, and I'm able to pursue the right opportunities. I'll give you an example. Like if you set a goal and say, I want to sell X number of units by X date. If a bigger opportunity or a new relationship comes along or some disruption comes along and you're so goal focused that you lose track of the bigger picture, goals can actually hurt you in that scenario. Now you may well hit your goal, but you've missed out on a much larger opportunity. And a goal says nothing about how you're going to get there necessarily until you say, okay, here's the disciplines I'm going to put in place. And my other thought on goal too, before I kick it back to you is, you know, every goal I ever set, I don't set a lot of them now, but every goal I've ever set in the past, I've either fallen short of hitting it, in which case I beat myself up a little bit, like what I do wrong, or I go way past it, in which case it was kind of useless because I ended up overachieving what I had set out to do anyway, and the goal wasn't even the finish line. I was going well beyond that way before I thought I would. So I'm just not a big goal guy, you know, and again, nothing against the guys who teach it, but I'm more daily discipline, habits, constant education, learning, and relationships.
I love that. And that's so awesome. And Callan just walked in the room once again. He wants to.
Hey, Callan, Merry Christmas, buddy.
So, and guys, I hope that's refreshing to you, because I know some of you are in that same boat where you feel like, golly, I just either, like what Jim just said, you either fall very short of it and you beat yourself up and feel like, gosh, I just should not even set goals, which is not don't just throw out the baby with the bathwater, or you completely blow them away and they were kind of useless. And so I want to talk, you brought up something awesome about these opportunities that come your way. If you're setting goals, you might be so focused on that thing that you don't see, or you don't allow those new things, those new opportunities to enter into your business or your life, because you're focused on this other stuff, and you could totally miss out on some really cool things. I know in my business, some of the stuff I do with you it's usually, Jim, it's not things that I thought of in advance. It's just like we see a need in the community and we come up with an idea and like, hey, you know, I think this idea for a class on replens, on finding products to sell over and over again would be good. You and I quickly partnered up on that, and that's been one of the most successful courses that I've ever done. And so if I had a goal of just I had my nose to the grindstone so much focusing on what my goals were, I might have missed that opportunity. So
I call it being in a state of disciplined distractibility. That's what I've always referred to it in. That's what I call it. I've never heard anyone else use that phrase. It's kind of my own internal. Am I being disciplined about the tasks at hand right now, but not so much so that I miss those obvious giant opportunities? Disciplined distractibility. I'm easily distracted away from those tasks that I'm very disciplined about tackling. And Callan walking into your office is a great example, Ryan. You know, if he came in and had a really cool drawing to show you or something, you and I both exist in a state of constantly being able to be distracted away from those important things we're doing. Our family benefits from that. If we were so goal-oriented that we shut our door and locked it for 9 hours a day, what's the benefit of being a home-based entrepreneur?
That's true.
Right? So it's disciplined distractibility, meaning I'm going to get out as much as I can, but those people who have earned the right to distract me, including my friends, great partners, more importantly, my family, I can be distracted away from that anytime I'm needed, you know, within healthy boundaries.
Sure.
But it's a state of disciplined distractibility. Maybe that helps somebody today to think of it that way.
I love that, disciplined distractibility, because I feel that's the way I am, because I'm always looking for new opportunities. I know you, and I'm just honored that you would say this. I'm one of the best people that you've seen in your community as far as using leverage, but it's because I see 100%. Opportunities and I allow for those opportunities to come in, and I'm always looking for new business ideas. I pay attention to questions people have in our community. And then I put two things together and just say, well, there's a need here. Well, here's a person that can meet that need. And it's usually not even me that does it. It's usually, somebody else that, I can partner with to make it possible. And so if I was just so focused on what I'm trying to do, I would miss those things. So.
For the diehard goal setters, I would say maybe set this as a goal. Set aside some time to think about the opportunities that are right under your nose based on the people you know, the communities you're a part of, the experiences you've had, right? The tools that you bring to the game. Find 5 or 10 of those a month minimum. There's your goal. Because that's what you do, Brian, very naturally. And to echo what you just said, you are the best in our community at finding those untapped needs and saying, hey, here's a way I think we can meet that need in a way that everybody wins. These 3-way wins, right? The community wins, the person with the idea wins, the owner of the community wins. And we put it together. So finding those, taking time to find those if you want to set a goal, but ultimately it's being other oriented. You can either be goal oriented or you can be other oriented. And I would encourage you, make sure if you're goal oriented, you're not leaving others out of the picture.
That's right. Oh man. One episode on the podcast that you had, guys, he has his own podcast. He's, way beyond me on this Silent Sales Machine podcast. Definitely listen to it. I get so many great ideas from it. The one recent one about relationships, and you challenged us to spend time with people either on the phone or a Skype call, a Zoom call, or even better in person. Would you suggest that would be a goal of somebody like, this week have X amount of conversations, this month have X amount of conversations, or this year? That would be a goal I think you might set.
Oh, 100%. I spoke recently at an event, Ryan. I think I mentioned that on the podcast episode you're referring to, but I asked the audience, how many of you had a phone or a Skype chat or sat down across the table for coffee or lunch with more than 3 people in the last month regarding your business? And less than 5% of the hands in the room went up. I was astounded. So I changed my whole topic for the day and just beat them up on that. Because if you're not having live interactive conversations, I'm not talking about texts or email, those don't count. I'm talking about you can hear each other's voice. Ideally, you can see the face, and even better, I would say up to 100 times better, you're in the same room at the same time and it's just the two of you. Those are the most powerful meetings you can ever have. It will advance your business quicker than any other activity. So if you're not doing that, set a goal. Those are the kind of goals, because now notice I'm connecting the dots. I'm connecting relationships to goals. Yeah. Right. But if you just have a goal that's a number on a piece of paper, I think I could go toe to toe with those gurus who are teaching that and prove them, I think, wrong. If your goal is just a number on a piece of paper, I mean, not that there's anything immoral, but it's certainly not the best way to fuel you forward quickly.
That's so true. Guys, this has been awesome. Jim, thank you so much, because it just resonated with me when I heard that your goal setting podcast. I don't even know how long ago it was, but I still remember it. And it's just because I feel like I'm one of those people who feel like doesn't work for me the normal way. And so I do focus on, what do I need to be doing today? What do I need to be doing right now to advance my business? And it's not, you just focus on those daily habits. And there's a book out there called Atomic Habits, I think. It's a really popular book. And it says you just do those daily habits right, you're going to hit your goals. So guys, just do that. If you feel like you're in that position that Jim and I are in, and the normal way doesn't work, then just focus on those daily habits. Jim, thanks again for being on with me.
Thank you so much. One last little lesson. The Bible talks a lot about focus on today. Let tomorrow worry about itself. That doesn't sound like big goal setting to me. That sounds like, hey, you know what? Like you just said, what are the tasks I can tackle with excellence today? Hey, great being on there with you today, Ryan. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it so much.